Pablo Escobar, a name synonymous with cocaine, wealth and terror. But he wasn't born a kingpin. He started in the slums of Medellin, Colombia. Poverty surrounded him, opportunity seemed scarce, yet ambition burned within him. Even as a young boy, Escobar was shrewd. He had a mind for business, a hunger for more. He dabbled in petty crime, stealing tombstones, selling contraband cigarettes, small steps on a dark path. His ambition grew with each transgression. Escobar craved power, respect. He saw a way out of poverty, a way to the top. The cocaine trade was booming. It was a dangerous game, but the rewards were immense, and Escobar, never one to back down from a challenge, dove in headfirst. The drug trade was brutal, competitive, but Escobar thrived. He was ruthless, eliminating rivals, consolidating power. He formed alliances, building a network of loyal followers. Fear and respect became his tools. Escobar was a master strategist. He understood the business, the risks, the rewards. He bribed officials, manipulated politicians. His influence grew, reaching the highest levels of Colombian society. His name became synonymous with cocaine. The drug flowed north, an unstoppable tide. Millions poured in. Escobar was no longer a petty criminal. He was becoming a kingpin, the head of a vast and powerful empire. Money was power, and Escobar had it in abundance. He bought loyalty, silence, and influence. Politicians, judges, police, all had a price. Escobar was not afraid to pay it. He became untouchable. He invested in legitimate businesses, a veneer of respectability. But his real business remained cocaine. He built labs, airstrips, smuggling routes. His empire expanded, reaching across continents. Escobar, the boy from the slums, now owned mansions, cars, even a zoo. He was living proof that in the cocaine trade, the sky was the limit, but his wealth came at a terrible price. A trail of blood and violence that stained his empire. Escobar cultivated a public image. He was a man of the people, a benefactor. He built houses for the poor, funded schools, hospitals. To many in Medellin, he was a hero, not a criminal. He was a master manipulator, understanding the power of perception. He used his wealth to gain support, to silence dissent. His generosity bought him loyalty, creating a shield against his enemies. But behind the Robin Hood facade lurked a cold-blooded killer. Anyone who dared to cross him met a swift and brutal end. Judges, journalists, politicians all fell victim to his ruthlessness. The man who offered charity with one hand wielded absolute terror with the other. Escobar lived a life of contradictions. He doted on his family, showering them with affection and luxury. He threw lavish parties, entertained celebrities, and lived like a king. But violence was never far behind. His enemies, real or imagined, were eliminated with chilling efficiency. Car bombs exploded, bullets flew, and bodies littered the streets. Fear was his most potent weapon. Escobar's reign was a reign of terror. He justified his brutality as a necessary evil, the price of power. He believed he was above the law, answerable to no one, but his actions were attracting attention, unwelcome scrutiny from those who vowed to bring him down. Escobar's empire, built on cocaine and blood, began to crumble. His violence had gone too far. The Colombian government, under pressure from the United States, could no longer ignore his reign of terror. A task force was formed, dedicated to bringing Escobar to justice. They were relentless, determined to dismantle his empire brick by bloody brick. The manhunt began. Escobar, accustomed to operating with impunity, found himself on the defensive. The hunter was becoming the hunted. He went into hiding, moving constantly, always looking over his shoulder. The walls were closing in. The hunt for Pablo Escobar became an obsession. The Colombian authorities, backed by US intelligence and resources, were relentless. They raided his hideouts, arrested his associates, squeezed his empire. Escobar fought back, unleashing a wave of terror. Bombs exploded in cities, killing innocent people. He hoped to break the will of the people, to force the government to back down, but he underestimated their resolve. The manhunt dragged on, a deadly game of cat and mouse. Escobar, isolated and increasingly paranoid, grew more desperate. His world, once filled with luxury and power, was shrinking, reduced to a series of safe houses and fleeting moments of freedom. The relentless pressure took its toll. Escobar's empire, once vast and powerful, began to crumble. Loyal lieutenants were killed or captured. His fortune, once seemingly limitless, dwindled under the pressure of the manhunt. The violence continued, a desperate attempt to maintain control, but the end was near. Escobar, isolated and alone, became a shadow of his former self. The Kingpin was falling. On December 2nd, 1993, Escobar made a fatal mistake. He lingered too long on a phone call to his son. The authorities closed in, cornering him on a rooftop in Medellin. A shootout erupted, and Pablo Escobar, the man who had once seemed invincible, lay dead. Pablo Escobar's death marked the end of an era. The cocaine kingpin who had terrorized a nation and amassed unimaginable wealth was no more. But his legacy, complex and contradictory, lived on. He left behind a trail of blood and destruction, a reminder of the human cost of the drug trade. But he also remained a folk hero to some, a symbol of resistance against a corrupt system. Escobar's story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that power, wealth, and even charisma can be intoxicating and ultimately destructive. He was a product of his environment, a man who exploited the weaknesses of a nation for his own gain. His rise and fall serve as a stark reminder of the human capacity for both good and evil.